Students, I first want to apologize. The sound quality is not very good on this video. I'm still figuring that out. But I wanted to show you what we've been working on in class. We're going to be making a pinch pot fish using not only a pinch pot method, but a slab method. Okay, so we're going to make two pinch pots that we're going to stick together like this. Remember, we're working on sculpture. Three-dimensional art shows form. And we're also going to use our 4S attachment of score, slip, stick, and smooth that we talked about during our bingo day. So first thing you're going to do with your two squares of clay or two lumps of clay, we're going to first start by rolling these into really good spheres if possible, okay? So got my clay here, and I'm rolling it into two spheres. So I've got my spheres like this, and I am now going to, pretty good enough. We're going to take these two spheres now, and we're going to turn them both into pinch pots. Now, a method for making a pinch pot is you can use your thumb or your pointer finger. And when we make a pinch pot and we make a hole, we don't want it to go all the way through the clay. We want it to go pretty close, but not all the way through the clay. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little hole like this, trying to put it as close to the center as possible. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now the reason that this is called a pinch pot is I'm making a pinching method as I do it. Some people pinch like this. Some people pinch making a D shape with their hand. But one of the essential things when we're pinching is one hand's going to be the turning hand and the other hand's going to be the pinching hand. You really want to make sure that you put your thumb all the way down to the bottom. If you pinch too high, the top of your pinch pot's going to be too thin. So here I go. I'm going to put it all the way down to the bottom, and I'm just going to gently pinch and then turn my pot with my other hand, pinching and turning, evenly pinching and turning my pot. If I keep my hand in the same shape all the time, my pinching hand, then my pinch pot is going to be fairly even. So one hand's turning it and the other is pinching it, all right? Same thing here with this one. Oh, notice also the top edge is pretty thick. We want it to stay pretty thick. We don't want it to be too thin. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to be putting my thumb all the way down. I'm going to try to make a D shape with my hand. So my top of my hand is curving over, and it's like I made the letter D, okay? So my thumb's all the way to the bottom. I got my D shape going, and I'm just going around, working that all the way around, making that D shape as I pinch around. And remember, every time you squeeze, the pot gets a little bit thinner. Okay. So what we're going to attempt to do is put these two pots together. So we want to make sure they're pretty similar size on the outside. I see this one's a little bit larger, so I might just pinch this one just a little bit more to make it bigger. So I can put them together like this. Okay, so I have my pinch pots. Here's the first step that we talked about in class, which is scoring. I like to use combs from the Dollar Tree. They work great. And remember, when we're scoring, we're roughening up the edge like this. We don't want it to be super duper neat and tidy. We want to really roughen it up because it creates something for the slip to go into, and it creates a better scene for our clay. So remember, we're going to score both of them like this. Of course, if any time during this video you need to pause it, go ahead and pause it until you're ready to move on. So now I have really scored the two top edges. In class, we have been using slip, which is dry clay crunched up and mixed with water. If you don't have slip at home, you could just take a few little pieces of this and soften it up until it's quite mushy. It's usually better to work with dry clay to make the slip. It's dry clay plus water. But if you don't have the time or don't have the supplies to do that, just kind of take a little bit of clay, mix it up with water to make like a nice kind of watery paste. This is slip. Slip is our clay glue, okay? So I'm now going to take my slip and I'm going to paste it all around the sides of both of my pinched pots because this is my glue. I really need it to stick everything together. So I'm just kind of putting it around like this. Now, got my two. Now I'm going to place them together to make my egg shape, right? So this is the step called sticking it. So now we're sticking them together. That's the third S of our 4S attachment. There's a few ways you can do this. One thing you can do is take the side of your thumb and kind of just push it around like this. You can also take little bits of clay and just put them in the crack and then smooth them down. So we're just kind of trying to smooth the two pots together. You could even make a little coil and put it where they're together and smooth that into the crack. So what we're basically doing is we're just putting the two of these together to the best of our ability. Trying to make it as nice and smooth as possible. We really want to get that really nice attachment going on there. Maybe here I'll do a coil, a really little piece of clay, and put it right between the crack. That'll work too, because we're just trying to get it to the point where we have an egg shape, a nice smooth egg shape. Just kind of, your fingertips and the sides of your thumb are really great tools to use in clay. So if I just keep rubbing it like this, I'm going to get a much smoother surface. Now for this class, it's not going to be perfect. We're just kind of trying to teach you pretty quickly here now that we're on video. So to get more of a fish-like shape, I can also squeeze. I can use my fingers like this to kind of squeeze the ends a little bit. That's an option that I have, so I can kind of shape them just a little bit. See, my seam's coming apart here a little bit, so I'm just going to keep smoothing that a little bit. Okay, but you're probably saying, Miss Tron, there's an air pocket inside. We learned if there's an air pocket inside, that our clay will explode. And you are correct. What we're going to do now is, let me get my pencil. We're now going to take a pencil and we are going to make a hole for the mouth. This fish is more of a cartoonish fish, not like a realistic fish, and that's okay because we're starting to learn our techniques. Have my pencil here. At one end, I'm going to take that pencil and I'm going to make a hole in my clay, okay? This is going to be my fish's hole for its mouth, and then if I kind of even want to shape it a little bit further, I can, but that's going to be its mouth, so now my air has a place to escape. I can also take my craft stick inside the clay to shape it a little bit if I want to. For instance, let's say like if I'm working and part of my fish collapsed a little bit, if I take the craft stick in there, I can kind of push that indentation out. So this is like a really great way to shape your clay from the inside. Okay? Moving on. We want to give our fish some little fish lips. So, we are going to roll a very small coil. So if I take a pinch of clay and roll it on the table like this, moving it into quite thin. You can make thin coils that will attach to your clay. The problem is thin coils that stick out, but since this is going to be attached directly to the clay, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit thinner, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thin coil and I'm going to measure it right around my fish mouth opening. Right around like that, and I can see that's about as much as I'm going to need, so I'm just going to use my little paper clip to trim off the excess, just like that. But hold up, now we got to attach it, and we need to follow our steps. So, we are going to score the top again, and if you can't get the comb in there, you could use the little paper clip, right? I'm just kind of scratching up the place where I am going to attach this coil. And I'm also going to score the coil a little bit on one side. All right. Now it's time for some slip. I'm going to put some slip down right where I'm going to be applying the coil. And remember, we do score to score, scored side to scored side, right? Just kind of maybe even take off a little bit more of this and stick it down. Okay, so now I've got something kind of resembling some fish lips. I can kind of squish it down a little bit more if I want. I can work on shaping a little bit. I can work on smoothing if I want to, but, oh, my little cute cartoon fish now has a mouth. Okay, so our fish has some scales, and what I'm going to do with that, by the way, if you want to also use a little bit of water on the surface to smooth out any little imperfections, you can. Let me go get my water real quick here. So just plain water can be used to smooth out any little cracks I have on the surface. It's a great way to kind of, really work on that craftsmanship, make your clay consistent, right? Okay. So now, I want to put some scales on my fish. So starting at about an inch from the mouth, I am going to press the side of my craft stick onto the clay, just like this. All the way around, and keep it going. And guys, I actually got a class coming in just a little bit, so I'm going to kind of have to speed this process up a little bit. But if it was real life, we'd slow down and make it the best it can be. And of course, you know what that means, but for the sake of the argument, I need to move on because I don't have time to make this perfect today. Okay, so here we go. Got my scales everywhere. You please take more time at home. I want to see something beautiful made. This is just a quick example. Okay, so got my scales. Next, we have this little handout. Now, this is where the slab construction comes in. Slab is any time you work with a flattened piece of clay, we call that a slab. Now, you can use these patterns if you want to, but you don't have to. Your fish is going to need 2 eyes, a dorsal fin, 2 pectoral fins, and a tail. So, I have a few of those already cut out. So this is how we do a slab. I'm going to take a piece of clay and I'm going to just try to flatten it evenly with the palm of my hand, okay? So I'm kind of just evenly flattening it. I'm taking it periodically and flipping it over, because if I flip it over periodically, it's not going to stick to the table. And that's really an important thing. On this handy-dandy handout, we have a little mark here that shows you about the proper thickness of clay. When we're making appendages, we want that clay to be around the thickness of 1/4 of an inch. Any thinner than that, and the clay gets pretty brittle, and it'll fall apart more evenly or more easily. So I'm just going to measure this, looking like I'm at the right place. I'm now going to take these patterns, and if I place them down, I can trace around them and cut them out. Now, if you do not want to use the patterns that were given, you can instead make your own. But what I'm doing with my paper clip is I'm cutting all the way through the clay, all the way to the other side, okay? So here I have my tail, it's cut all the way through. This is slab construction, I can kind of smooth it out here and there. Now, I can add some texture to my tail as well. If I go like this, and I can add some lines to it. The really cool thing about the tail is when we're done, now to make it really good craftsmanship, it'd be a smart idea to draw the lines on both sides, right? So there we go. Oh, what a beautiful tail. But hold up, I need to make sure I score and slip this to the end of my fish. In fact, I think I'm going to shape my fish a little bit more right now. So same thing again. I'm looking at where it's going, and I've got to score. Sometimes I even use the term scratch, scratch, attach. I need to score where the tail is going. I want my tail to go like this, so I need to score this side of the clay. And of course, next step is slip. I'm going to put quite a bit on there. And I'm going to stick it right on. Really need to have enough. I need to squash it on there a little bit. I can even, one method I like to do when I'm attaching things is to really take little bits of clay and just kind of smooth them on like this. This is a really great way to make sure that everything is joined perfectly. So if I take like a little teeny tiny pinch of clay, and I'm just kind of making sure that my slab and the body of the fish are together. Ta-da, right? Here we go. Awesome. You can cut out some fins, some pectoral fins. All different kinds of examples here, but so take a pair of scissors, cut out whatever fin you like, or you could make your own pattern. With these, we're going to need 2 of them, so what you would need to do with this is lay it down twice, do the same method where you cut it out with the paper clip, right? So, through the magic of television or YouTube, I have 2 pectoral fins I've just made. Now, what's kind of fun about this is to incorporate some movement, and I can even do this with the tail too. Once the tail is attached, I can kind of gently bend it in different directions. Yet again, scoring and slipping. I need to score the little end piece of both of my fins, and I'm going to attach them pretty close to the end of where I've done my craft stick. So scratching here in this area, gotta do that scoring and slipping. If you don't score and slip and stick, your art's not going to hold together. So I've got that stuck down. Because this end's a little bit square anyway, I can kind of just smooth it onto the surface of the fish, do some little fins, and ooh, I could Maybe give it a little bit of a bend, you know? That's kind of fun. So when we do it on the other side, I've got to score twice. Gotta tell you, if you're not doing that good construction, your art is not going to stay together. It's just one of those things. You've got to really work on the craftsmanship and construction. If the craftsmanship is not done correctly, it's just not going to hold together. And we really want these to survive. I can even use to really get that good sticking and smoothing going on. Using your fingertips is great, right? So here I go, just smoothing it down, giving it a little bit of a curve maybe. Oh, this is coming together really well, but it looks like I might need to go back and reattach the tail. I need to make a dorsal fin. So as you can see here, you can cut one of these out. I'm just going to draw one real quickly because I want to for my next class. And as you can see, the video camera. Alright, so I'm trying to figure it out. And I am just going to take the paper clip directly to the clay, doing my horizontal line, vertical line up, some sort of a zigzag at the top, right? And pressing it all the way through the clay. Has to be, that paper clip needs to be pressed all the way through the clay. And just to give it a little bit of texture. And you know, your dorsal fin is going to be seen on both sides. So I'm going to do my lines on both sides like this. And then I'm going to scratch where the fin is going to go, which will be right down the center of the clay. And of course, don't forget, you also got to scratch the bottom of your dorsal fin. Really add a lot of scratching there, or it's just simply not going to hold together. Here we go. Let me put a little slip here. And gonna stick that down. I don't really have time to show you the eyes, but you can flatten down again, cut it out of the clay, attach your eyes. Okay? You can give it a little, you can give your dorsal fin a little bit of movement. But don't forget the eyes too. This is probably a better example. Same situation. Cut it out of a flattened piece of clay, stick it onto your creature, right, or your fish. When you're done, completely done, take a dull pencil and write your name on the bottom of your clay, neater than I did. Here's the situation. This is not complete until it gets fired in the kiln. Right now, see how this clay is pretty dry. This is called bone dry. So if you bring your clay back and want it fired, you have got to bring it to school in a shoebox, cover in soft cloth, so it can very easily get to my classroom. One small bump of a bone dry piece of clay and it breaks. At this stage, you cannot paint it. It needs to go through the firing process to actually become hard. That's when we paint it. Up until the point it is fired, aka cooked in my kiln, it's very, very fragile. Okay, so that's the fish with the pinch pot and the slab construction. Looks like I need to finish my eyes on this one, but that's what we're doing. Thank you, and have a great day.